Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today, I just want to talk about a couple of items that I think are important. First of all, about prayer. People wonder how to pray. And the reason they wonder is because they have a feeling that the way they're praying now is not really somehow effective. Well, the way to pray begins with a certain state of the soul. Before you have the right state of the soul, you can't pray. Or you can pray, but it'll just be words, empty words. And that's what most people do. In fact, you go around the world. All the different countries, they all have some form of prayer. And it's just words. And you come to America, and a lot of people are praying. It's mostly just words. There was a writer, an American writer who lived, I think it was about 100 years ago, I may be wrong. His name was Ambrose Bierce. And he wrote very cleverly, like Mark Twain said some very poignant, funny but poignant things. Well, so did Ambrose Bierce, but he said one thing that I'll never forget as long as I live. He said, hypocrisy is the tribute vice pays to virtue. Hypocrisy is the tribute vice pays to virtue. In other words, the hypocrisy or the hypocrite is, by their hypocrisy, is acknowledging that there is such a thing as real good, sincere truth. Whatever good is, they acknowledge that it does exist, and they're imitating it. One other thing that you hear is that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Have you heard that one? Well, so when it comes to prayer, I would say that two good things about just words. One good thing is that at least you're acknowledging that God exists. And you're acknowledging that you need help. Okay? So that's good. But it would be the ideal prayer is one where your soul has the right stance. Now, what is this stance of which I speak? The place. Your soul has to be in the right place. Now, for most people, their soul is not in the right place. What's the situation with most people? They're lost between their two ears. They're lost in thinking, trying to analyze, trying to figure things out, worrying. They're lost in reliving the past, worrying about the future, planning and scheming, setting goals. Or they're lost in fantasy, thinking fantasy of romance or revenge. That's usually what it comes down to. Fantasies of romance or revenge. So there they are, lost in that. And then they have an assist. They get help in remaining lost between their two ears. They get help from video games, music, movies, marijuana, drugs, alcohol. See, what are all those? So those all represent an escape from reality. See, an escape from the present, where the birds are singing, and an escape from the presence, in the present. Notice how I say that. An escape from the presence, with a capital P, in the present. Okay? So God does not dwell in the imagination, or in images, or in fantasy. Okay? He is where thoughts are not, actually. He's in reality. His presence is all around you. His warmth, His love, it's like electricity. But you miss it. Not only do you miss that, but you also miss the present moment. That's why you're not there for your kids. How many kids have said about their father, my dad wasn't there for me? Okay? He wasn't there literally. He was gone. There'd been a divorce or something. Or he was there, you know, sitting in the living room watching football, but he wasn't there somehow emotionally. So, the right stance, that's the most important thing. See, first things first. Christ said, put first the kingdom of God in His right way, and all other things will be added unto you. He said, if you go to the temple to bring gifts, and you arrive at the temple door with gifts, and you suddenly realize that you have some issue with your brother, then He said, go make it right with your brother, and then bring the gifts. So if you want to pray, then first find how to be closer to God, how to be in the present, and not lost between, see. Now, until you're willing to know the truth, and want to know the truth, and yearn for the truth, then you will not be able to bear reality. Just like, you know how people on a Sunday afternoon, a rainy Sunday afternoon, sitting there at 2 or 3 o'clock, and there's nothing on television. Of course, now there's football. A lot of people watch football. It would actually be better if there wasn't any football, because then they could sit there and begin to feel antsy, begin to feel a vague anxiety, begin to feel bored, and start pacing the room. That'd actually be better, because then at least they'd be coming close to the reality that they've been avoiding all their life. They've been hiding from the truth, hiding from reality. And so, until you're willing to come back to reality, you'll flee from it. You'll reach for a bag. See, you'll mess it up, and you won't be able to pray properly. You'll just mouth words. And you won't be able to meditate properly either. You'll use a false meditation, one that has images and visualizations, you know, which is more being lost between your two ears. Or one that has chanting, more words, see, chanting, mantra, even a meaningless word. Well, they like the meaningless word because that way you can chant the meaning and say the meaningless word over and over and over again, and then you don't have to face any guilt. You get a false innocence by just saying the same thing over and over again. So, in order to pray, you have to really and truly want to know the truth. And it's very simple. It's as simple as the next moment. The next moment that comes along, your child comes up to you, Mommy, what do you want? Can I ask you a question? Okay, what is it? Well, come on, get to the point, I'm busy. Oh. Just ask me later, see? Impatience. So your child walks away hurt. There's your moment. You can either sit there and realize that you don't have any love, that you're impatient, see, and see it, and bear the pain of it, the embarrassment of it, see. Bear that without trying to cover it up, without rushing to try to change the subject. Did you want to go get some burgers at McDonald's? Trying to change the subject, see. Or later saying, I'm sorry, I was, here's how they always say it when they don't really mean it. If I was a bit impatient with you, then it's because I've had a rough day. Your dad is no good, and I had a lot of work to do. Making the child feel guilty, so the child feels sorry for you. See, then eventually you'll make the child into the parent. So you can be irresponsible and impatient and deny the truth. But if you're willing to admit the truth, see, I was impatient, I was selfish. Okay, and see it, and not try to excuse it or justify it or rationalize it, then that's the attitude. That's the stance of the soul, or getting toward the stance of the soul, wherein you'll be able to pray. So now pray. I heard John MacArthur on the radio this morning. He's a famous Christian preacher, I guess. And he was saying, pray when you in the Bible, he said, you see, People, they raise their eyes to heaven, they raise their hands, they bow their head, they close their eyes, they pray while they're walking. You know, who was it? Was it James, or I forget who it was that said, you know, pray without ceasing, pray always. So can you see, if your soul has the right attitude, that's the same thing as praying always. You want to know the truth, you yearn for the truth, you love the truth. And you don't want to escape into your thoughts anymore and hide from reality. See? Then, you know, like St. Augustine said, he said, love God and then do what you will. Okay? Because if you love God, then what you do is going to be right. Okay? So, but he's so, I thought that was a good point. So then, yeah, you can pray with words. You won't need words. See? When you pray, when you want to know the truth and you yearn for it, well, and God knows what you need before you even ask Him, it says in the Bible. So there you are. Then if you use words, there's no harm to it. There's no harm in it. If you don't use words, you close your eyes, you don't close them. It's all good. He said, well, you said with little kids, I thought it was so cute. Then I went to look at the transcript, you know, at the website. Because he had quoted a Bible verse. It was Luke 18, verse 1, which turned out to be, you know, he said, pray. When you encounter, you know, turmoil and troubles, he said, pray, don't faint. In other words, don't overreact, pray. Okay? But when I saw the transcript, I noticed that he said with little kids sometimes, you tell them to close their eyes, bow their head and close their eyes. And he said, close their eyes is good because that way they're not going to be fidgeting and talking and looking at each other and making all kinds of bundle things that kids do. You see what I mean? That makes sense. Okay. Well, anyway, you got the idea. So now you see why I always emphasize the meditation. Of course, it won't work for you if you're not ready for it. When will you be ready for it? I don't know. I have no idea. Okay? But if you're ready for it, then it'll work. And it does help. It helps you to get the hang of being in reality, in the present, and not lost in imagination and fantasy. You're much better off to be in reality. Let's put it that way. You're closer to God that way. My name is Roland.